Welcome back to the FIT Like KRYS Podcast. Thank you so much for listening ahead of time. This is a really special episode because I am joined by my favorite person in the whole world.
That's me, right?
That is you.
Because the dogs are here. I just want to make sure you're talking about me.
The dogs are here. We are having a little bit of doggy difficulty. So all the dogs are just roaming around. So if you see one jump up or bark or anything, they're just part of today's episode. Hi. So I want to, since we're in the month of love, this month I wanted to have a couple special episodes with you specifically. We've known each other for almost a year.
Almost
a year. And I've learned so much from you in the past year.
Okay.
And so much about myself. So I wanted to share a little bit with people to help and inspire them. But before we get into that episode, this episode, I thought it'd be cool to share how we met and maybe what our life was like right before we met and how online dating. He makes a lot of faces. So if you're watching this, sometimes
I don't play poker.
Sometimes, what did you say to me yesterday? Oh, you said to give you a Xanax.
Oh, yes. My face is, yeah.
But he doesn't mean half of his facial expressions.
Okay.
All right. So we are going into how we met. And I told you a little bit about how we met in the background of that, which was a challenge that I did on FLK method or with FLK method. It's called Love Toned. We're going into our third annual challenge right now. And because I am thankfully taken, I have two of my members kind of passing the torch to them. But I would not have met you if it wasn't for this process. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that first. But before I talk, we're going to give the microphone to you because I want to hear what you have to say. So before we met, how long were you on dating apps? First of all, which dating apps were you on? And give us just like some insight into dating apps in Levent. This is Levent, by the way. I didn't even say his name. Welcome, Levent.
Thank you for having me. If I had a choice. Honestly, I don't remember when I first joined the dating app world. I've been divorced for 10 years. So, and I know for the first couple of years, I was not on the dating apps. I was not looking to date. But in the last couple of years, I have been on and off dating apps. And it's always a love-hate relationship. Like that as you get older, that whole process of telling your story. And I would joke that I just wanted to create a Word document. And I'd be like, here's me. Please review. If you like what you see, we can progress. But that meeting the person and, going through that process is just, and so you go through this process.
Wait, what's your least favorite question that you would get asked on a date? Like when someone asked you for like small talk, what was like something that you were like,
why I got divorced? Do I still talk to my ex? What kind of relationship do I have with my kids? Never got into like anything uncomfortable like politics or religion or things of that nature. I think to some extent by the time you meet the person, a lot of that stuff gets weeded out, as a part of the selection process. I know as a man, like I took the stance of being sort of more conservative. I would put myself out there and then let the woman decide if they wanted to meet up in person. And because there's a whole spectrum of, certain women were like, I don't want a texting buddy. That was a very common text in I recall, in the text of the description of what people were looking for, like, make plans, let's go out, and that kind of a thing. And then there's certain women were very conservative. They're like, they wanted to I don't know if it had to do with my unique name or, I would put that I was multilingual. So I think people made certain assumptions and they would want to sort of filter it out. So you would go through this process, you get your hopes up, and then it wouldn't go anywhere. And again, like from what I understand, there is varying approaches. Some people pay for premium.
Yes.
See, I didn't. I only got like, I don't know, 5 likes a day or 10 likes a day, some nominal amount, and then you only got to select certain criteria, distance, age group, things of that nature. And I was very selective.
Oh,
Yeah, you should know that. And who I sort of swiped right on. But I know other people pay for the premium and they would write on everything, just play the numbers game, hoping that, something would happen. Right.
And it did. Listen, there are infinite ways to get to the same place.
Yes. Yeah.
And
yeah.
you're here. Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. So love, hate, on and off.
So I would go through that process and I'd be like, okay, I'm done. I would delete it.
Okay.
And then, weeks, months would go by. And then you're like, all right, fine, let's try this again. And what's interesting is the same people would show up. You're like, oh my God, you're still on here. And I'm sure they were saying the same thing about me. And I saw a stand-up comedian the other day on one of the social media platforms, and they said they should have a new dating app where they combine everyone and call it What's Left.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So yeah. And I think part of it also had to do with, like yourself, I didn't interact with a lot of people. It wasn't like my old days where I, worked in the city where you would run into people
Right.
on the train, in the office, going out for drinks afterward and things like that. Me owning my own business, that being e-commerce, catering to men mostly. I didn't interact. So I would meet people at the gym, which was very limited, 45 minutes a day. Outside of that, I mean, literally days could go by where I didn't interact with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why online dating is an option.
Yeah. I also was on and off of it. I was probably only on and off of it. When I met you, that was probably only my second. No. Trying to think of the year. That was probably my 3rd or 4th time being on apps, period, because I was never on a dating app before 2022. So when I got on the dating apps, I was like, oh, this is new. This is a new way to meet people. And it was really overwhelming. I felt it like really consuming because it was almost like Instagram where they bait you and they like make you do things. And I'm like, and then it would just, like you said, I would just be like, oh, what is this? And I'm just
which ones were you on? I know you asked me. I was on Hinge. I was mostly on Hinge, Bumble for a little bit, Tinder for maybe a day or two because that was just craziness.
Wild and crazy kids on Tinder.
Yeah, I was just I just that didn't work. There was one called like Coffee and a Bagel or something.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
I forget the name of it. Like the whole premise being that you just meet up for and I think those were the only ones.
I was just on Hinge and Bumble, and I paid for both. I paid for both on my second time around, mostly because I was holding myself accountable in my challenge at FLK Method, my online wellness community called Love Toned. So the way essentially that it worked was that instead of just, planning to date people and then being home and working from home and not having any, I didn't have any, I didn't really even feel like dating. Like I felt like whatever, I was fine, but I was busy. Like it didn't really matter. But I I knew that I didn't want to be alone. Like I knew that I wanted to be in a partnership.
That's a really good point because, having been single on and off for 10 years, what you're looking for changes.
Yeah.
Like, not to get too specific, but like post-divorce for me was, I just wanted time to myself. I had other priorities, my kids, work to focus on. And then when I thought I was ready, it was not for a serious relationship. It was to meet people, go out, have fun, maybe someone to travel with, things of that nature. As the years progressed, things changed. And I told you this on, I think, one of our first dates when you said, "What are you looking for?" I said, "I want a partner." I mean, that's been a theme, a conversation that we've often spoken about. So, to your point, depending on where you are in your relationship cycle, the platforms serve different purposes.
Yeah, I actually I tell our first date story a lot. And the way that I tell it, or the way that I remember it, is that you were my 40th date or so. Around there. And I was in the middle of moving from, like still, finishing up a divorce, moving from just like a huge house to like a, what I live in now, which is an amazing townhouse condo. And I was turning 40. So there was just like a lot going on, still running my business. I was tired and I was going on all of these dates. This is in the course of like 45 days. So between, February 1st and I started earlier than that, between the last week of January. So it was probably 30 days. 30 days. I was going coffee, getting a drink, dinner, second dinner. Like I was getting the numbers in there.
Great.
Yep. I was just checking it off. And so by the time I went out on the date with you, which was my last date, I did not go on any dates after that, just so you know.
Okay.
It was my last date. And we met up at a pizza place near you.
Like 2 doors down.
And you said you were surprised that I went to...
Yeah, because my experience has been that most people would want to meet at a neutral location and not for a meal. The most common date for me was, which I was okay with, was let's go for a walk, grab a cup of coffee. Because it's like there could be an end. It's an easy exit. You're not stuck having a meal long term with someone.
Yeah, I wish I got that advice before my experiment.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of meals that were super awkward.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're sitting down. I go to him. It's literally like right where he lives, and we meet. And I think within like the first 5 minutes, you made fun of my car or something. You said my tires needed air
when you pulled up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, your tires need air. I'm like, I'm gonna go home. Like, for real? Okay, bye. But
now you know that. Now that you know me better, it was coming from a place of concern, not judgment.
Yes. Yes, you tell me my tire. Yes, you're very concerned.
Yes.
You're a concerned person.
Yes.
I do appreciate that.
Everyone go home and check your tire pressure.
Yeah. Very detail oriented, this one. Pros and cons.
Yeah.
So we meet at the pizza place and I'm in just workout clothes. I have like workout pants, hat. I look presentable, but I'm definitely...
Did we not go into town and get coffee first?
No, that was...
And then got pizza?
No, that was I think we went after. I think we elongated the date. We lengthened the date.
Yeah.
Because we were having a good time. So we then went to get coffee after, and then you walked me to my car.
Yeah.
So we go to get pizza, and we go sit into the place, and I'm like... mentally sort of checked out, tired. And I remember, this is how I remember it. I remember I would take my sneakers off. I was sitting at the table, like, just like no F's given. I was just like, might have well been like this. I was like, like that's it mentally in my brain. I was just kind of like there. And he asked me, we had some like basic conversation, but then he asked me, what do you want off? He asked me, what are you looking for? And I said, I'm open to anything, like whatever life brings me. And I was just very like not specific about the answer. And I was like, what are you looking for? And he's like, a partner. And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh my God, so scary, because I was just not even though that's what I wanted, like I didn't know that or I wasn't ready for that. So when he said that, I was just like, alarms were going off. I was like, run, run, run. But we were having such a great time and it was so easy.
We had conversed for an extended period of time before we met up because you were so busy. We tried a couple of times. That one night where the mattress was getting delivered late, we were going to meet up that night.
Yep.
But then we didn't and fell through. So
we had a lot of banter. We had really great banter before.
We did. I remember after you left, I was like, I probably sensed that maybe you were freaked out or whatever, but I'm like, that could go either way. So I remember consciously, like, sort of, I don't want to say pulling back, but like, verify you're okay, but don't be pushy. Like,
and that's what I tell people. Like, I was so not into, I kind of didn't care. I guess I kind of didn't expect anything or care. And you were so...
Well, it was also not a priority because you had so much going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were so persistent without being pushy or like me feeling like it was too much. And every time you text me, it was kind of just like, hey, you okay?
I mean, let's be candid. It was because my interactions were pointed at helping you. Hey, you're having a yard sale today? Did you eat? Let me bring you lunch.
Yeah.
Oh, you're moving that stuff? Let me help you move. Like, it wasn't like, oh, you're in the middle of moving? Let's go out tonight.
Right.
It was sort of, I just want to spend time with you.
With what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you had told me afterwards that you didn't think, because I had so much going on, you were kind of like, this is probably going to like fizzle out because she has so much going on. Yeah. But you really showed up for me really early on without being like, it was just so easy. You just kind of showed up and you're like, yeah, whatever, if you need anything, you need something to eat, you need something. And I didn't feel pressured. I felt supported. And since then, I mean, we've had some ups and downs.
Sure. Yeah. And we're going to have more.
We've had some ups and downs.
Well, I mean, we talked about that early on too, that like, and I think it's an important message. Life is hard. Like, you're going to have, and it's been a year, and we haven't had a lot of bad things,
No.
We haven't had any major illnesses. We haven't had major
major life events.
Yeah.
Couple of things.
Yeah. But and we will. And I think, you need to understand that and accept that. So that falls under the whole partner.
Yeah. And that's something that when my mother got diagnosed with breast cancer, and because he is so supportive, and I had this, I think looking back, I was sort of scared to let someone help me when I knew I couldn't give anything back. Like, I was so tapped out, and I knew he was going to help me get through that. And I was just like, I don't want to receive help because I can't do anything back. I can't reciprocate like anything. I'm mentally, physically, everything tapped out. So I pulled back. And during that time I pulled back, you were just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
You're like, I guess it wasn't what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, oops.
Yeah.
And then you just gave me space to like just work out my feelings, I guess.
Well, I mean, there was other stuff going on too. Like, I mean, I think an important point to discuss we often laugh about is I was also under the weather when we first met.
Oh yeah.
And I don't like germs, and she doesn't like germs. So she's like, who, me?
Yeah.
So physically, I stayed away.
Oh my God. How did I skip over that part of the story?
Yeah, go ahead and share that view.
Yeah. So let's go back to when we first met. So we have this first date. I'm like, whatever about it. He's super supportive, sweet, helping me with things. We're keeping in touch via text. And maybe like we saw each other maybe 3 times within that first 2 weeks after we first met. And every time we met up, like the second time we met up, I can't even remember what our second day was. I think we just met at our Artist Baker. What is that place called?
Artie's?
Yeah, no.
Oh, Able Baker.
Able Baker.
Yeah.
There's an Artist Baker in Morristown.
Yeah.
I think we just met for coffee. We were sitting in a park but every time we met, so on our first date, we like hugged goodbye, which is fine. I mean, that's totally appropriate. I'm not kissing really anybody on a first date. And then our second date, we connected a little bit, but it was kind of just like a pat on the back. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to make the first move. And then we met up again. And I remember I went to kiss him. Like, we're saying goodbye. This is the third time we're hanging out. We're obviously dating. And I went to kiss him and he turned his face. And I was like, what in the ever? In my head, I was like, oh, you are crazy. Like, what is happening? Like, not me, not today. And then the last time, so then that happened, he didn't say anything. You didn't say anything because I did not know what was going on for a little bit.
Was that before or after the restaurant when you came and sat next to me?
That was before. And then the next time.
I think the restaurant was before that.
The timeline is irrelevant. The point is that we went on like 4 or 5 dates and I didn't know what was going on. He was not making a move. I tried to kiss him. He turned his face. And then I did it again on the next date. And he backs up and he goes, I'll kiss you soon. And I just laughed. I was like, what is even going on right now? And then he finally, I don't even think you told me then. I think you told me after the fact. So we went on a date.
That I was sick?
Yeah. He was sick.
I was sniffling. I was coughing.
He was sniffling.
Yes.
And listen, that's just a testament to how good of a person he is. Because any other guy, like what?
I would know.
He didn't want to get me sick. Yeah. And so we went. So there was no physical, nothing. So in my mind, I'm like,
we're going to be friends.
Yeah. I'm like pumped because he's awesome. And I'm like, he's like an awesome person. Like, I'm happy to have a friend right now, honestly. And we went on a date in Jersey City and it was in a little booth. What's it called? You need to just.
It's fine.
Martin's, what's it called? It's some little place in Jersey City.
Yeah. Off of Grove, was it? Whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But they have these little tiny booths that are like for 2 people, but it's a booth. And we sat down, we're eating, and you can't hit people in the face.
Lay down.
This is a whole nightmare. No. Everybody watching turned it off. They're like, what is even, if they're listening on Spotify, they're like, what is even going on? My dog, if you're not watching this, my dog is pawing and has been pawing at Levent because she's just, there we go. Okay, look at that. And she's, all right, there we go.
Okay.
Oh my God. Yeah. We're sitting at the restaurant in this tiny little booth across from one another. And I get up and I go to the bathroom and I come back and.
We're not getting ready to get the check. We were done. I don't think we had ordered dessert yet, but it was
we didn't drink. We weren't drinking.
End of the meal.
Yes, it was at the end of the meal. We already got the check. The check already came, I think. I went to the bathroom before we were leaving. And when I came back, I sat on his side. And it was only like, he had to like move over. And his eyes sort of like lit up.
Yeah, I remember literally saying to myself, "Oh, she likes me." I was like, "Okay."
And then like he put his hand on my leg. And this is like, guys, this is like, I'm 40. He's 54. Like, this is like our fifth date. And both of us were like, he put his hand on my leg and I felt like a teenager. I was just like, oh, he likes me. Like, just absolutely ridiculous. And so we leave the place.
Oh my God, pouring rain.
Pouring rain. And we parked God knows where. And one of the first things we found out about each other that we have in common is we both have zero sense of direction.
Zero.
Like we just do not know where we're going if Waze is not on. So we leave the place. It's pouring rain. We have not an umbrella. Okay. And we start running through the streets of Jersey City looking for the car, which we cannot find. It is torrential downpours.
We're ready to call an Uber.
Yeah, like we're gonna call an Uber to drive us around to look for the car
because it's pouring out and it's cold. It was like March.
It was cold, and we must have been running around in the rain for at least 10 minutes.
At least
10 minutes, and then we were gonna call an Uber. And then I don't know if it was you or me, but
we saw like graffiti that reminded, mural.
And I was like, oh, I think it was over here. Yeah. And sure enough, we turned the corner and the car was
a red Mini when we had the red Mini.
Yeah. And the car was right there. And we got in the car and we were just laughing. We were just like hysterical laughing. And that's something that I do with you all the time. We just laugh.
We do.
All the time.
Yes.
And it starts super early in the morning. And that's going to go into our next episode that we're going to talk about healthy relationship habits. I think I know it took some work for us to get there, but I feel like we're figuring it out.
Well, we're always going to be figuring it out.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yes. We're always going to be figuring it out.
Yeah.
But, for anybody who's listening, who is wanting a partnership or relationship, and actually, you know what would you say to someone who has been on and off of the apps and who is ready to be in a partnership? Like, what's some advice that you can give to women specifically? Because that's mostly who's listening, men too, but women specifically who might be listening. Like, what would you tell them? What are some things that were right coming from me, right? Like as a partner, what are some things that women can do more of to find that person?
I mean, I think as you get older, two things come to mind. One is you need to know yourself. You know, I have three, 25, 26, 23-year-old daughters. And when we talk about dating, it's just like, when you're looking to date at 20, you think anything is possible. You think anything is possible with you. You think anything is possible with whoever you're dating. You think you can change. You think you can change them and all. At 53, you're like, I know what I like. Yeah. There's compromise. There's things that you can, work around. But, there are certain things that become non-negotiable about you that are important to you, and that you're looking for in the other person. And if you don't know what those things are, then it's just a big waste of time. And then on the other side of that is that whoever you end up with, that you want to end up with, you got to make sure they're giving you all of that. They're not playing games. They're being like, if they're not looking for a serious relationship, then they shouldn't pretend to be. Like it's if they're not okay with dating someone that has kids, then they need to tell you that. So it's knowing yourself, and then whoever you're with is being honest with you. I think those are the two most important things.
How do you know if someone's being honest with you? Is it like up to you to ask the right questions based on your non-negotiables?
Yeah, I think there's an element of intuition. There's an element of experience, and you see it. That they if they want to, they will.
Yeah, actions.
Yeah. Shtuk, lay down. Get on the bed. Come on, lay on the bed. Get on the bed. Come on. Yeah, I mean, whether we accept that, I think we've all been in relationships where the person, the flags, they're showing you their flags, and you're like, no, that can't be.
What are some flags? Tell us some flags. What are your red flags? I wonder if I had any.
Picky eaters.
Oh, oh my God. So he texted me one time. We have been talking for like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah,
this is before we kissed. Yeah. Okay. We didn't even kiss at this point. And he's asking me what kind of food I like. And I was like, what did I say? What was my answer?
I don't remember, but you just kind of shoot it off.
I was like, you'll find out. If you're meant to find out, you'll find out. Like, why are you asking me?
But all that makes sense now, right?
Yeah.
See? Because I knew what I wanted.
He is an excellent cook. But I do remember saying, like, all the foods. I said something and you were like, you're not vegan, are you? And I was like, who hurt you? And I was like, no, I eat kind of like everything, and I do.
I think that's a big one. I think being culturally sensitive because of my background and being open to diversity and things of that nature, I think is important. Just having the ability, like I've seen and I've been with people that are just not happy, and which again is life. There's ups and downs, and you support each other and you do all that kind of stuff. But there are some people that are just not fundamentally happy, and I think it goes back to the first point because they're not ready. That they haven't explored what they're looking for, and then there's a bunch of stuff going on. I think flags are all around. I think, but at the same time, I think we all need to be careful because there are times, and I've seen women do this, especially older women, where to them it's like checking off boxes, and they assume because you check off the first 3 boxes, you're in your 50s, you have kids, you were divorced, and all that, like. Then it means that you're going to check off 10 more boxes.
Right.
And they don't even bother getting to the other 10 boxes.
They're assuming.
Yeah. And I've heard it from individuals that were, at a certain age, they didn't have kids. Like they would assume like, oh, this guy's already have kids. He's never going to want to have kids. Which may be a majority, but until you ask, you don't know. So, and then I think there's also a lot of negativity because people just have bad experiences because there's a bunch of jerks on both sides.
Yeah, just being let down over and over again.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, happiness is a choice you have to make every day. I mean, otherwise, life will beat you down. And I think that's something both of us do really well. And I thought. I mean, I know I'm fairly good at it, but I thought I was really good at it. And then you've showed me that, you're really good at it, and you wake up just with a smile on your face. And it is so, I feel so grateful to have that in my life. And it makes such a huge difference, but you can easily wake up not like that, right? It's totally a choice. I mean, you got to get up early. It's cold. There's a million dogs jumping and they want this and that. Your back hurts. You didn't have a good night's sleep. So there's a million reasons to not be.
The fan is on. I mean,
he hates my fan. I tried to get you earplugs. They didn't work.
I sleep in a jet airplane.
It's a very small fan. It's actually like this big, and I put it on low. So I mean, I compromised. The dogs used to all sleep on the bed. Now they do not. Just this psycho.
Yeah.
She's the only one because, as you could see, she's severely attached.
Neglected. Yeah. Poor baby.
Thank you for putting up with my fan.
No problem.
And me.
No problem. My pleasure.
And thanks for being on the FIT Like KRYS podcast.
Can't wait for the next one.
It's about to happen in 5 minutes. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions for either of us, feel free to shoot them over. I think under Spotify, you can actually leave a text. On YouTube, you can leave a comment. And just remember that happiness, connection, all that stuff you want in a partnership or relationship, it is a choice that you have to make every day. It's so easy to kind of be like, and in your own head and be super affected by the world around us, especially now. So making that choice to put the effort in and just be there for your partner and be open and have fun.
Yes.
And with that last tip, we're going to leave you there, but come back for the next episode where we're going to talk about healthy relationship habits. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining.